There is a sacred rhythm to life, a quiet intelligence that pulses beneath every breath, every breeze, every beat of your heart. You were born of this rhythm, not separate from it, but as it a wave of the infinite ocean, a flicker of the eternal flame. And yet somewhere along the path, you began to forget. You began to chase. You chased approval. You chased answers. You chased dreams that never truly belonged to you, believing that only in the grasping, in the reaching, in the relentless pursuit of more would you find your wholeness. But chasing is the song of the ego, a song that always ends in dissonance. The soul does not chase. The soul allows. The soul remembers. You are not here to hunt down your purpose like prey. You are here to open your arms like the sky and allow the purpose to arrive like the morning light, unforced, effortless, divinely timed. Because what is meant for you cannot miss you. What is truly yours does not require struggle. It arrives when you are ready to receive, not when you are desperate to attain. Today King teaches, do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and the water is clear? Can you remain unmoving until the right action arises by itself? This is the essence of allowing. This is the wisdom of the way. But the mind resists this. The mind shaped by a world addicted to striving panics at stillness. It whispers lies. If you do not chase it, you will lose it. If you stop running, you will fall behind. If you do not push, you are not worthy. But the truth is, what you chase will always run from you, because in the energy of chasing is the vibration of lack, and the universe responds not to your words, but to your frequency. When your frequency screams, I need this to be whole, the universe must echo back your belief in incompletion. But when your being radiates, I am already whole, and I trust what is mine to come, then you become a magnet, not through effort, but through alignment. Look to nature. The flower does not chase the bee. It opens. It simply becomes what it is fully, unapologetically, radiantly. And in that state of being, all that is needed comes to it. The sun finds it. The rain nourishes it. The pollinator arrives drawn not by force, but by essence. You are no different. You do not need to chase love. Become love, and love will find you. You do not need to chase abundance. Live in the frequency of enoughness, and abundance will arise around you like grass through cracks in the pavement. You do not need to chase your destiny. Walk in truth, and your destiny will recognize you by the light in your eyes. To allow is not to be passive. It is to be profoundly powerful, because to allow you must trust. And trust is the highest form of faith. Trust that the same power that orchestrates galaxies and tides and seasons also knows the path of your life. You were not placed here by accident. You were not forgotten. You were not overlooked. Everything is unfolding in perfect rhythm. Even your delays, even your detours, even your heartbreaks, especially your heartbreaks. Because pain does not arrive to punish, it arrives to purify. It arrives to burn away the lies that block your receiving, the lie that you are not enough, the lie that you must earn joy, the lie that you are separate from God. But you are not separate. You are the vessel of the divine, the temple of the infinite, the breath of the eternal cloaked in form. The more you remember this, the more you let go of grasping. And the moment you stop grasping, your hands become open to receive. Do you see? You were never asked to strive. You were asked to surrender. To surrender not in weakness, but in wisdom. The wisdom that says, I do not need to control life. I'm not. I need only to align with it. When you are aligned, the current carries you. When you are aligned, the right people appear without effort. When you are aligned, you do not have to chase, because your life becomes a prayer that the universe cannot help but answer. But alignment requires trust. Trust that the timing is divine. Trust that silence is not absence. Trust that waiting is not punishment. It is preparation. What if every unanswered prayer was a doorway being carved? What if every delay was the hand of God rearranging the path so that it may be smoother when you arrive? What if the reason you haven't received it yet is because what you're asking for is still growing wings? Let go of the illusion that you must chase, convince, or prove. Instead, allow joy to surprise you. Allow grace to catch you. Allow the universe to show you that it is not your adversary. It is your beloved partner, conspiring always for your expansion. But the universe does not shout. It whispers, and to hear it, you must become still. Still like the forest before dawn. Still like the surface of a pond reflecting the sky. Still like the inner knowing that needs no proof. This is where your power lives, not in the force, but in the flow. Let the river carry you. Let the seasons shape you. Let the wisdom within you rise like the moon without needing to be pushed. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where you need to be hearing this now because your soul is ready to stop running and start remembering. Remembering that you are already the love you seek, already the abundance you pray for, already the light you hope to find. Stop chasing. Start allowing and watch how the universe begins to deliver. And so you breathe again, not just to fill your lungs, but to empty your fears. You breathe not as an act of survival, but as a sacred return. With every inhale, you come closer to the truth that you've always been enough. With every exhale, you release the illusion that you ever had to earn your place in this world. The trees do not question the worthiness of their bloom. The mountains do not apologize for their stillness. The ocean does not hesitate in its dance with the moon. They do not chase, they trust, and they remind you in every whisper of wind and every shimmer of dawn that you too were born to trust the intelligence that breathes all things into being. You see, the universe is not blind to your desires. It hears every longing, even the ones you do not dare speak, but it does not operate by the urgency of the ego. It moves with the calm, unshakable patience of eternity. And when you align yourself with that rhythm, you no longer live from desperation, you live from depth. This is where the ego trembles, for the ego feeds on urgency. It cannot survive in the presence of peace. It will tell you that without striving, you are falling behind, that without effort, you are invisible, that without recognition, you are nothing. But I tell you, the most radiant souls are not always seen by the eyes of the world. They are felt. Their presence is the message. Their peace is the proof. You do not need to shout to be heard by the divine. You do not need to hustle to be seen by grace. The sacred does not speak the language of striving. It speaks the language of surrender. And surrender does not mean to give up. It means to give in, to fall back into the arms of the universe, knowing you are held. There is no weakness in this. Only the courage of remembering that you are not the doer. You are the vessel through which the doing flows. And when the doing flows from stillness, it becomes inspired. When you move not to prove but to express, life becomes art. And in that artful living, the right people appear, the right doors open, and the right answers rise from within. Not because you chased them, but because you made space for them to arrive. Stillness is not stagnation. It is the birthplace of all movement, just as silence is not emptiness, but the home of all sound. In your stillness, you become the receiver of the divine frequency. And that frequency is always broadcasting, but only those who cease their inner noise can hear it. Be among the few who dare to listen without expectation, to listen without demand, to listen with a kind of faith that can wait a lifetime and still call it grace. Because when you are in alignment, the delay is never denial. It is refinement. It is preparation. It is the loving precision of the universe rearranging what must shift so that your soul can meet its destiny fully awake. And when that moment comes, when the unseen becomes seen, when the long-awaited arrives, not with thunder, but with a whisper, you will not feel surprise. You will feel recognition. You will say, of course, because somewhere deep within you, you always knew. You knew you were meant for this. You knew it would come not by force, but by faith. You knew that the universe was not ignoring you. It was sculpting you silently and perfectly into a vessel capable of receiving what you once tried so hard to chase. And in that moment you will weep not for the waiting, but for the remembering. The remembering that the power was never in the pursuit. The miracle was always in the allowing. There is a subtle shift that happens in the soul when it stops pleading with life and starts dancing with it. A grace enters, a softness. You no longer brace yourself for disappointment because you realize that nothing true can ever pass you by. What is aligned with your soul does not arrive through pressure. It arrives through permission. You permit it to unfold by no longer needing to control it. And control is the great illusion. The illusion that says if I can tighten my grip, I can guarantee the outcome. But the sacred is never controlled. The sacred is invited. It enters like breath into open lungs. It enters like light through an unguarded window. When you try to control life, you squeeze the miracle out of it. Of mind, you let go. Life reveals itself in ways your planet can never imagine. You were not born to grip. You were born to trust. You were not born to predict. You were born to flow. And when you flow with the current of your own inner truth, you discover something astonishing. What you were chasing begins to chase you. Not because it is chasing, but because it recognizes itself in you. Like rivers returning to the ocean, like birds finding their way back to the sky they never left. The things that are truly yours come home when you come home to yourself. There is no substitute for this inner return. No goal can replace it. No relationship, no title, no achievement can stand in for it until you are home within. You will be a stranger in every room you enter. You will seek love in faces that cannot reflect your worth. You will seek peace in places that were never meant to hold it. You will keep reaching and never touching. But the moment you sit still, truly still, without expectation, without performance, without the armor of your old identities, something ancient awakens. Not something new, but something forgotten. And it doesn't shout. It doesn't make a spectacle of itself. It simply says, here I am. I have been waiting. And it has been waiting not for your perfection, not for your productivity, but for your presence. The divine does not require you to be extraordinary. It requires only that you be real, not more, not better, just real, just present, just willing to stop running and start receiving. Because what's waiting for you isn't on the mountaintop of accomplishment. It's in the valley of surrender, in the soft earth of your being, in the unpolished truth of who you really are. When you stop trying to become what the world demands, you were never meant to be exhausted. You were never meant to chase your worth across depths of scarcity. You were meant to sit beside the wellspring of your own being and drink deeply, and when you do, you become full. Not full of noise or titles or things, full of truth, full of peace, full of the knowing that says, I am already enough. I do not need to strive. I do not need to chase. I only need to allow joy to come in ways you didn't script, to allow healing to arrive through the cracks you once tried to seal, to allow love to pour through when you thought you were too broken to hold it. This is not wishful thinking. This is how the universe speaks, not in lightning, but in light, not in fume, but in vibration. And if you dare to quiet yourself, to stop chasing, to let the moment be enough, you will hear it, you will feel it, and it will be unmistakable. There is a humility that descends when you finally stop trying to force open doors that were never meant for you. Not the kind of humility that belittles, but the kind that exalts the soul by freeing it from the weight of its own expectations. In that release, something sacred unfolds. You begin to see that nothing you were chasing was ever about the thing itself. It was always about the feeling you thought it would give you, the freedom, the peace, the sense of being enough. But what if you could feel that now? Not when the world grants permission, but when your heart does. What if the feeling you long for is not waiting at the finish line, but rising within you each time you let go of needing the finish line at all? So much of our suffering comes from the belief that life is elsewhere, that our joy is hiding in the next step, the next partner, the next partner, the next breakthrough. But joy is not a scavenger hunt, it is a state of being. And you enter that state not by chasing, but by arriving. Arriving in this breath, in this body, in this unfiltered moment. No embellishment, no improvement, just presence. When you stop running from what is and soften into it, you make contact with the divine. Not as a concept, but as an experience. You feel it in your chest like warmth, in your stomach like peace, in your mind like clarity. This presence is not manufactured, it is remembered. It is what's left when all the layers fall away, and when you live from it, everything changes. Not because the outer world suddenly bends to your will, but because your inner world no longer depends on it. You are free. Not in the sense that nothing affects you, but in the deeper sense that nothing owns you. You can feel deeply without drowning. You can desire without attaching. You can create without clinging. This is the art of allowing, of dancing with life instead of wrestling it to the ground. And in this dance, timing becomes holy. You stop asking why not now and start trusting. If not now, then there is something I do not yet see. You begin to love the waiting, not because you enjoy delay, but because you start to notice the miracles hidden in the margins, the people you would have missed, the wisdom that ripened while you paused, the strength you gain not from charging forward, but from standing still with open hands. There is no shame in not having arrived. There is no failure in still unfolding. You are not a problem to be fixed. You are a mystery to be revealed. And mysteries do not unfold by force. They reveal themselves when the heart becomes quiet enough to receive them. So sit with your becoming. Let it be slow. Let it be sacred. Let it be shaped by something greater than your need to prove. Because when you release your grip on the outcome, you finally make space for grace to move. And grace always moves in perfect rhythm. And when grace moves, it does so in silence, like dawn entering the horizon unnoticed until the whole sky is changed. It does not knock. It does not ask for credentials. It does not wait for you to be ready. It arrives the moment you stop resisting its presence. And it transforms not through might, but through remembering. You begin to understand that waiting is not the absence of action, but the presence of trust. Trust that there is a timing more intelligent than your planning. Trust that the seed does not need to shout to become a tree. Trust that your soul too knows when to blossom and when to rest beneath the surface of things, gathering its unseen strength. There is a season for stillness, a season for roots, a sacred pause before every great unfolding. And in that pause, something invisible is always happening. You are not stagnant. You are steeping. You are not behind. You are being carved into the exact shape that can hold what is on its way. But this cannot be rushed. You cannot pry open the petals of a rose and expect it to live. You cannot force a sunrise by shouting at the sky. The soul too opens when it is safe, when it is ready, when the light inside is strong enough to meet the light outside without flinching. That is the essence of allowing. Not passivity, but presence. Not giving up, but giving in to a wisdom deeper than your mind can measure. And the more you surrender into that wisdom, the less you need to explain yourself. The less you seek to convince anyone of your path. You become content to be misunderstood by the world, if it means being understood by yourself. You realize that clarity does not require consensus. Truth does not need validation. The most beautiful trees never ask for applause. They simply grow. And so do you, quietly, gently in the direction of your own light. Not because someone told you to, not because it's the most impressive path, but because it is yours. And walking, it feels like breathing, like returning, like a kind of remembering your bones have been waiting for all along. In that remembering, even the ache becomes sacred. You stop rejecting the discomfort. You stop resenting the tension. You start to see that every twist in the road was part of the unfolding, not a deviation from the plan, but the exact route that softened you, shaped you, and brought you closer to your core. Healing is what happens when you stop running from the parts of you that are hurting, when you turn toward them with kindness, with presence, with a radical permission to be seen without needing to be fixed. And when you do that, when you hold your own ache like a mother holds her crying child, something opens. The tight grip loosens. Fear softens. The pain stops screaming and begins to whisper its ancient wisdom. There is intelligence in your wounds. There is guidance in your sorrow. There is clarity in the silence between all the striving. And if you are still long enough, those things you once chased will begin to gather around you. Not because you captured them, but because you finally matched their frequency. Let this moment be the turning point. Let this breath be your agreement to trust again. Not trust in outcomes, but trust in alignment. Trust in your own soul. Trust in the mysterious, miraculous, invisible current that has carried you this far is not about to stop now. And when you make that sacred agreement to trust not what you see, but what you feel, not what you can measure, but what you can know without proof, the universe responds. Not in thunder, not in spectacle, but in the quiet choreography of synchronicity, a sentence overheard, a sudden stillness, a door gently opening where before there was only wall. You begin to see that life was never against. It was always listening, always responding to the vibration of your inner being. And when your inner being shifts from fear to faith, from chasing to allowing, life shifts with it, but not immediately, not all at once. Like a river changing course, it happens subtly, imperceptibly at first. But then one day you look around and nothing is quite the same. More vivid, the silence more profound. The ordinary moments shimmer with presence because something within you is no longer striving to escape this moment. Something within you has stopped waiting for a better version of now. And in that surrender, everything changes. You stop performing. You stop pretending. You stop measuring your worth by the speed of your becoming. Instead, you become deeply intimate with yourself. You listen to the voice within that has been speaking all along, not in the language of words, but in sensation, in stillness, in the soft pull toward what feels alive. And that voice, that sacred inner compass, will never lead you astray. It does not care about optics. It does not care about timelines. It cares only about truth, about resonance, about walking the path that belongs to you, even if it looks like wandering to the world. So many fear this path of allowing because it requires uncertainty. It requires patience. It requires walking without a map and trusting the stars instead. But the truth is, you've followed maps before. You've walked the well-worn roads. You've done what was expected, and still something in you was restless. That restlessness was not failure. It was your soul stirring. It was the part of you that refuses to be tamed by convention. It was the divine calling you back to your original rhythm, the one that does not march, but dances that does not strive, but sings that does not chase, but shines. And to live from that place is to live as the sky does open, unbound, quietly holding both storms and stars without resistance. It is to trust that your worth is not a moving target, but a fixed truth. It is to know that even when life feels like a question, you are still the answer. You are the field in which it all unfolds. You are the awareness that watches the story, not the character trapped within it. And when you remember this, not in theory, but in the quiet of your being, you no longer ask, when will it come? You begin to ask, how can I be still enough to let it arrive? In this stillness, you realize there is nothing missing, that all you're chasing was never about lack, but about forgetting. Forgetting that you are already woven from the same silence that bursts the stars. forgetting that your very breath is a bridge between heaven and earth, forgetting that you are not here to find completion, but to embody it. And so the chase ends not in resignation, but in revelation. Not in defeat, but in the dignity of remembrance. When you stop reaching outward, your hands are finally free to touch the sacredness of this moment, to feel the pulse of life, not as something